Вие сте с гласът на Капитал. Подкастът, в който журналистите от Капитал разказват големите теми от седмицата в дълбочина, с контекст и анализ. В него ви срещаме и с хора от сферата на политиката и бизнеса, с които говорим за важните въпроси днес.
Здравейте от Страсбург! Вие сте с извънредното издание на подкаста Гласът на Капитал. Аз съм Моника Върбанова, европейският репортер на медията и се включвам директно от Европейския парламент в първия работен ден от новия политически сезон. Имам изключителната възможност днес да разговарям с Европейския комисар по отбрана и сигурност, господин Андриус Кубилиус. Срещата ни се е случила в ключов момент. Новият мандат на европейските институции започва на фона на продължаващата война в Украйна и все по-видимите заплахи за сигурността на континента. Темата за общата европейска отбрана вече не е абстрактно понятие, а спешна необходимост, която изисква конкретни политически и финансови решения. Затова се обръщаме към комисар Кубилиус с конкретни въпроси за плановете на Съюза за укрепване на отбранителните му способности, за ролята на източния фланг и на България в трудната геополитическа ситуация. Hello, Commissioner Kubilius. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Our first question is related to your talks with the MEPs. You just come out from them. How did you convince the MEPs, the Eurodeputies, and also the citizens? How can we convince them that the European defense need increased spending and the Russian threat is real?
Well, first of all, the Russian threat is real. What convinces perhaps a lot of citizens and politicians is not what I am talking, is what our intelligence services are saying. And when German intelligence service, Danish, Netherlands intelligence service or French intelligence service are saying that Putin in 3 or 4 years' time can be ready to test Article 5, it means to attack any country of NATO, that convinces mostly. And what we see both from European-wide opinion polls research, it's very clear that now defense is top priority for all the citizens. Recent Eurobarometer have shown that really defense is the most important. And what we see from actions of governments of member states, also they understand that investment into defense now is one of the most important priorities.
Yes. The European Union has suggested new instruments to support the European capabilities in defense. Regarding safe instruments, will European countries be able to buy American weapons where they lack capabilities, or it will be strictly focused on European industry?
Well, those are the money, what we call European money, which we are using, safe loans, backed by European budget. And of course, we want those money to be spent to strengthen European defense industry capabilities, because defense industry is a very important part of, in general, of defense resources. Besides weapons, besides soldiers, besides roads and military mobility infrastructure, we need to have also well-developed defense industry, because in the times of war, we need to have industry not far away from conflict zone, which will be able to repair, to maintain, and to produce new weapons. For the time being, European defense industry, as it was written into the Draghi report, is not at that level. So European Union money, we are ready to spend orientating them towards to the products which are produced by European industry. But we need to remember that majority of money which are coming into defense are spent by member states, and we are not regulating where the money will be spent by member states. Till now, they are procuring quite a lot of weapons not from European defense industry. We hope that our defense industry will be able to catch up with its products and competitiveness, and to convince member states to spend more and more of their money on European production.
Just something else that you mentioned, the infrastructure. How can we boost investment in infrastructure which is adapted for military but also for citizens? Can we, for example, have common public procurement, or how can we boost international procurement for those projects to become faster?
Well, first of all, definitely military mobility is one of key priorities. Later in the autumn, we shall come with big, new communication and new legislation on military mobility, where we shall try to find the ways how to resolve not only in infrastructure problems but also legal regulations. When now it's very difficult to move military goods from one country to another country, you need to have on the border permits and so on. So we shall try to resolve those issues. In addition to that, in the new European Union budget, which will now started to be negotiated among member states and which will become operational since the end of 2027, we put 10 times bigger amount for military mobility. Now we also change the rules for cohesion funds, allowing member states to use those funds, if they are not used till now, also for military mobility purposes.
Okay. Regarding the reduced American support for NATO, what will be the role of the eastern flank to increase our security and defense, and specifically Bulgaria?
Well, I don't know about American, diminishing support to NATO. President Trump, when he was in NATO summit, he said Americans will participate and will support. What we have heard last week, that Americans are diminishing their own support program to European Union member states, including Baltic states. We can understand that Americans will shift more and more of their resources towards China, towards Indo-Pacific, to mitigate Chinese rising military power. And that is why it's so important that we are coming with our financial instruments, which will allow also for frontier countries like Baltic countries, like Poland, like Finland, and also Bulgaria and Romania, to develop very important projects of what we call Eastern Shield, which will allow not only to strengthen security of those countries, but also it will strengthen security and defense of the whole European Union, because those member states really will stand in the front line in defending the whole European Union.
How EU will respond to hybrid threats like drones entering our airspace, attacks, underwater attacks, or on critical infrastructure, or GPS jamming, what we had recently?
Well, each of those different threats we need to mitigate with different instruments. For example, Eastern Shield will have one component, very important component, so-called drone wall, which would allow really to be much more better protected against drone attacks. Now each countries are facing some kind of accidental drones, flying from Russia, into our territories. But we need to be ready really that Russians who learn how to fight drone wars in Ukraine, that if they will decide to attack any of NATO member states, that we will be ready to defend us in the same effective way as Ukrainians are doing. Jamming is also the issue which we see how it's spreading, during all European countries and especially in our regions since the beginning of the war. Russians are establishing in different parts of Europe very, very strong jamming equipment. We faced that when we were flying together with Commission President. There are things which we are ready to build up. Tomorrow we'll speak exactly about that in European Parliament, strengthening our capabilities both to detect jamming and using for that purpose our space assets. Also, a very important instrument is needed for authentication of proper signals from our navigation systems like Galileo, and also we shall strengthen the whole Galileo system with new satellites in different orbits, and that is in our plans.
Can we soon speak about European army, or at least increased capabilities of national armies in some way to boost our security?
Well, that is, national armies really are increasing their capabilities, and that is what they agreed with NATO. There are so-called NATO capability targets, which were agreed in between of NATO headquarters and military experts and member states. And now member states need to implement what they pledged to implement. And here we come with our financial new resources, with different other instruments like industrial policy instruments, and that is how we're strengthening our defense. So for time being, we are not talking and we are not discussing about European army. But looking into longer-term future, I see really the need for us in Europe to strengthen our defense capabilities as European pillar of NATO. And I have the task to initiate creation of so-called European Defense Union. This is in my mission letter written by Commission President. And those discussions we are starting to organize.
Thank you so much for this conversation. It was extremely interesting for us.
Thanks a lot.
Отговорите на комисар Кубилиус очертават една сложна картина, пълна с предизвикателства, но и ясна посока за действие. Фундаменталните въпроси за бъдещето на европейската и регионална сигурност, които обсъдихме днес, ще бъдат в фокуса и на предстоящия Regional Defense Summit, организиран от Капитал. Затова използвам възможността да поканя нашите слушатели и читатели да се присъединят към нас на 30 октомври в София. Там дебата за това как да изградим по-силна и сигурна Европа ще продължи с участието на ключови политици, военни експерти от целия регион. Разговорът тепърва започва. Благодаря ви!
За още любопитни истории в дълбочина, абонирайте се за Капитал. Можете да последвате гласът на Капитал във всички аудиоплатформи и да гледате епизодите в YouTube и в A1 Explore TV. Ако имате идеи или искате да ни дадете обратна връзка, пишете ни на pisma@kapital.bg или в социалните мрежи. По записа и монтажа на този епизод работи Павлин Даскалов. Продуцент е Юлия Изет, а музиката на гласът на Капитал е композирана от Петър Дундаков.